Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome everybody to episode 120 of Matterhorn Mondays, coming to you live from the Outpost. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm your co-host, Alex the Historian.
And today we got a great episode planned for you guys. A great podcast, a great live stream, as some might say. And first off, I'd like to apologize for my webcam. It's got like a 1 second delay, or maybe even like more than a second, it feels like. But
you know what? I can't help but feel like it looks clearer than your other camera.
You think so? I don't know. My other camera has like the nice depth of field because the lens that I use. But I don't know. It could maybe be clearer. I know it has a higher resolution for sure. But yeah. So apologies for my webcam. My camera is still broken, and we're going to be holding a funeral for my camera, you guys, after we get into Alex in the Parks. Or after, I guess we can actually get into that after we finish the announcements here. But you guys know the drill. Links to all the socials will be down in the description below. And as always, we haven't had Alex explain what kind of videos he makes in a while. So Alex, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell the viewing audience what kind of videos you make on your channel.
Only the most awesome videos ever, bro. No, so I'm Alex the Historian, and for those that don't know, I make videos all about Disneyland. My channel is entirely about Disneyland, and so far, mostly nothing else. The main videos on my channel are my history videos. They're like a little mini documentary series. Each video focuses on a different ride or attraction or thing in Disneyland. And then I also do vlogs as well, where you can see me like hang out with friends and just have a nice relaxing day in the park. Nothing too over the top. Yeah.
He climbs to the top of the Matterhorn in his last vlog, you guys. Illegally, he climbed to the top of the Matterhorn, so tune in for that.
You really think this climbed to the top of the Matterhorn?
I mean, if Tinkerbell can do it, she's like 5 inches tall.
Maybe if I was in an elevator.
Well, anyways, yeah, a link to Alex's channel will be in the description, as it has been since episode 1 of the show, you guys, almost 2 years ago. It hasn't been almost 2 years since we've done the podcast, or maybe more than 2 years. Anyways, I'm not good at math on the spot, but
well, we started in late 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah,
almost 3 years.
Well, it's like 2.5.
2.5, yeah, almost 3. That's bananas. Alex invented hiking, says Avery. Well,
I did.
That's true, you guys.
Hiking.
Well, anyways, if you'd like to be wished a happy birthday live on the stream, you can do so by following the Google form doc in the description below. Submit your birthday, submit your name, and we'll wish you a happy birthday live on the stream, you guys. We've been doing this for quite a while, and we've accumulated a lot of birthdays, and sadly this week we only have one birthday. And let's see. Gratzelli's birthday is Wednesday, January 29th. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Gratzelli. If I pronounced that wrong, let me know in the comments. I apologize if I pronounced it wrong. T-Will says my delay is bothering him. I'm sorry, T-Will. I apologized at the very beginning of the episode. But anyways, if you guys would like to voice your opinion on any of the topics we have at hand, you can go ahead and call 575-386-5814. Leave a voicemail. We'll be listening to them live throughout the episode. You can also text, but it's sort of established in the Matterhorn Mondays canon that we do prefer that you call, leave a voicemail. You don't have to actually talk to any of us. It just goes straight to voicemail. So if you're like scared of, interacting with us or whatever, you don't have to. It just goes straight to the voicemail. You can voice your opinion on any of the topics we will be discussing today. And we do have a lot of interesting topics that we're excited to get into. But before we do, it is time for everybody's favorite segment you guys. The segment that is single-handedly putting my teeth into destruction, you guys, with all the sugar I've been drinking. It's time for Matt Snaps, you guys.
A whole wide world of knowledge awaits underneath the cap. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Snaps.
And as always, you guys, we got the classic peach tea Matt Snap, or not Matt Snaps, peach tea Snapple here, you guys. And let's go ahead and pop this puppy right on. Oh my god, it's super glued on there. Oh, that was a horrible snap. I'm sorry, everybody. I failed. Last episode's was pretty. Oh, all the ice melted while I was. Oh, that sucks. There's nothing worse than drinking warm Snapple, especially warm Snapple that's been like sitting out for like 30 minutes. Like honestly, it's just the worst. Drink it cold, you guys, or just drink water. Because water is indefinitely more healthy than any fountain drink. That's a plug, you guys. Self-care, drink water. Anyways, now that Matt Snaps is out of the way, it's time for everybody's second, or actually, guys, I mentioned this last episode. My trusty Canon, what is this, 70D. I bought this used on eBay, and it's done me well for the better part of like 2 years, I think. Yeah, I've got a lot of great lenses for it. And it finally kicked the can last week. Actually, right before last week's episode went live, my camera, it didn't explode. I feel like it'd be a better story to say that it like exploded as like the stream started, but that's not what happened. I think I like fried the motherboard or something, because the way I've been using this camera when not like taking pictures at Disneyland and filming and stuff, I should probably take the SD card out. So I'd normally have it mounted on a tripod just out of sight behind you, or I guess in front of me. And I'd have it plugged into this trusty little Elgato cam link, which I guess in like layman's terms, you plug it into the, what is this? The HDMI mini port here on the camera, and it turns your DSLR camera into a webcam. So you can use this in replacement for what I'm currently using now with much higher quality. You can swap out the lenses, of course, on a DSLR. It just looks better, and it really upped the production value, I feel, for Matterhorn Mondays. And the way I do that is I'd have it just like running on, like just on during the podcast, and sometimes the podcasts push like 3 hours almost. So I guess in me having the camera on, just sitting there for 3 hours plus, like a few times a week, just like fried the motherboard or something.
It's like overheated.
Yeah, probably like overheated, something like that. So it kicked the can, you guys. I'm probably gonna end up buying another of the same body, 70D, because I really like this body. It's great for video. It's great for pictures. And then I'll probably end up buying a separate like a Sony or like a camcorder or something, just specifically for the podcast, just because I like to have the nice depth of field. So guys, we're holding a funeral. If I can get as many F's in chat as we can, you guys, for my Canon 70D, we will be laying it to rest this episode, and we will be holding a moment of silence starting now. Alright, I feel like that's enough.
I hope you get copyrighted for that.
Honestly, I'd be so sad. The last moments of glory, my camera, and it ends in a copyright claim. That would be horrible. Anyways, yeah, I don't know if it has warranty or not. Like I said, I bought it used, so I guess I can look into the warranty or whatever. But if you guys would like to help me buy a new camera, super chat, you guys. $1. Every dollar helps. Just kidding. You can donate if you want to. You don't have to. But yeah, so rip to my Canon 70D. This man is legit playing taps. I am. It's a sad moment. I almost shed a tear during that moment. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this week's news from the peak.
We now present to you
News from the Peak.
We now present to you news from the Peak. And for our first bit of news from the Peak, Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland have been closed indefinitely due to the coronavirus outbreak. And there are a few quotes from each park that I would like to read through here. So let's see. This first quote comes from Shanghai Disneyland. Quote, "In response to the prevention and control of the disease outbreak and in order to ensure the health and safety of our guests and cast, Shanghai Disney Resort is temporarily closing Shanghai Disneyland, Disney Downtown, including Walt Disney Grand Theater, and Wishing Star Park starting January 25th of 2020. We will continue to carefully monitor the situation and be in close contact with the local government, and we will announce the reopening date upon confirmation." Yeah, that's from Shanghai Disney Resort. This next quote comes from Hong Kong Disneyland. Quote, as a precautionary measure in line with prevention efforts taking place across Hong Kong, we are temporarily closing Hong Kong Disneyland Park starting from January 26th of 2020 out of consideration for the health and safety of our guests and cast members. The Hong Kong Disneyland Resort hotels will remain open, and we are in close contact with the health authorities and the government about the situation and will announce a reopening date once they determine it is advisable. So, pretty crazy stuff happening out in China, you guys. Alex, what are your thoughts on both Chinese Disneyland resorts closing indefinitely due to the coronavirus outbreak?
Well, I'm really glad that they're taking the precaution because speaking from experience as a cast member of Disneyland Resort in California, a lot of things spread when you work in a Disney park because they're so full of people. And it may be a large park, but when you have that many people in that kind of a space, they come into contact with a lot of different things. So you often find as a cast member, you're always having colds, flus, weird viruses and things. Like, it's crazy. And as cast members, we're taught to sanitize surfaces and things all the time to prevent the spread of these things. But it happens. And some people, they get infected in their home countries and then they come here for their vacation, sometimes fully knowing that they're infected. It's one of those dangers. So I'm glad that China theme parks, Disney theme parks and other, I'm sure other theme parks in China have closed as well. But I'm glad that they're all taking the precaution because this is a serious, deadly disease. That being said, you also have to imagine how expensive it must be for Disney to close those parks. Yeah. Because it's not like everything is paid up front and it's like, oh, now we own everything. And, it's like everything is under contract. Some contracts are going to be paid off 10 years from now. So it's like, it could be like, they built the castle, and they paid, a construction company and they said, okay, we'll pay you in installments over so many years, that kind of thing. So I'm sure there's a lot of finances and stuff that the park is still trying to pay off. And every day that they close, they're losing potentially like $1 million a day. So it's incredible how expensive this must be. So I'm also worried for those parks as well. Yeah. Because you never know what this could mean especially for the parks over here. The whole illness thing aside, but
Yeah, Mark asks, Alex, did you work during the swine flu era at Disneyland?
I remember the swine flu era, but I don't remember when it was. If you could tell me when it was, I could tell you.
I think that was when I was like in 5th grade or something. I think that was a while ago.
I remember making all kinds of jokes about, like getting sick like a pig or something. I worked at Disney between 2009 and 2016. So if it was during that time, then yeah, I did.
It might have been 2010-ish, says Travis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. In 2010, I was working as a busboy all over Disneyland. So at that point, I'd probably cross-trained to like
Wait, Alex
20 different
drove
restaurants.
buses around Disneyland?
No.
Anyways, moving on to our second bit of news. Well, yeah, I guess I should say thoughts go out to everybody who lives in the infected areas. Don't go outside. Stay in your house if you can. Only go outside if you absolutely have to. Yeah, I don't really know. I guess wash your hands. I think that's like a general health tip that everybody should follow regardless. Brush your teeth. I don't think that has anything to do with that, but still wash your hands, brush your teeth. Yeah, good hygiene. Anyways, moving on to our second bit of news from the Peak. This is very interesting to me. Disney is dropping the Fox name from all of the Fox affiliated companies that they absorbed during the merger. Will be called 20th Century Studios instead of 20th Century Fox, and Searchlight Pictures instead of Fox Searchlight, I think is what it was called. According to Variety, and the links to all the articles we refer to will be down in the description below as always. According to Variety, the move may have been done in part as a way to distance themselves from Fox News, which Disney does not own, and it was not part of the acquisition. An industry insider told the trade, quote, "I think the Fox name means Murdoch and that is toxic," unquote. I'm not really sure what that could possibly mean. But it sounded important, so I included it in my notes here. If you guys know, I think Murdoch last name was like the owner of Fox or the owner of Fox News. I'm not sure. Let's see. Disney has already started the process to phase out the Fox name. Email addresses have been changed for Searchlight staffers, with the Fox.com address being replaced with a SearchlightPictures.com address. Let's see. On the poster for Searchlight's next film, Downhill, with Will Ferrell. I'm sorry, Julia, if you're watching. I can't pronounce your last name. The credits begin. Dreyfus? Julia Lois Dreyfus.
Yeah, Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Louise, not Lois. I always get confused. Anyways, the credits begin with Searchlight Pictures Presents. The film will be the first Searchlight release to debut with the new logo. Call of the Wild, an upcoming family film, will be released under the 20th Century Fox banner, or 20th Century banner, minus the Fox. So, very interesting again. Alex, what are your thoughts on Disney dropping the Fox name from all of the previous Fox branding?
It's weird to think like this company I've known all my life is now owned by Disney, and now they're dropping the name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's bad or good. I just think it's meh. But I mean, like, it's just kind of weird, like growing up my whole life and watching movies, like Alien or even what Star Wars has that too, right? And that's like you see the thing, and it's like now you probably won't even see that anymore. But yeah, I don't know what to think.
Simpsons predicted it, says Gilla Gorilla. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Anyways, yeah, very interesting. If you guys have any thoughts on this, leave it in the comments down below. Again, it's not really something surprising. I don't really know if I would have necessarily predicted that Disney would have dropped the Fox name from all of the branding, but it's not really a big surprise to me. And moving on to our final bit of news from the Peak. I should bring back the Taps theme for this, you guys. The Obi-Wan Disney Plus series has been put on indefinite hold, you guys. According to insiders, Kathleen Kennedy was not happy with the scripts that were produced for the Disney Plus film, and the scripts are currently being reworked with the goal of resuming progress on production later this summer. So,
I bet you anything the whole reason why she didn't like the script is because it was too good.
I would not put it past Miss Kathleen Kennedy. But anyways, I guess it's sort of understandable because The Mandalorian was such a breakout hit for Disney. A lot of great directors and writers attached to that. It makes sense for them to get the script right for this Obi-Wan to match the quality of The Mandalorian. And even because The Mandalorian was such it was basically like a brand new Star Wars property that they created, whereas Obi-Wan is like established canon in the Star Wars universe. A lot of people love Obi-Wan, especially Ewan McGregor's version. Ewan? I don't know how to pronounce his first name.
You know what? I kind of just spit out his name really fast so that way no one hears how I pronounce it.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, that's what I do. So people just, if they go like, wait, he didn't pronounce that right, they'll go like, oh, maybe I just heard it wrong.
You know, that's a good tip. Thank you, Alex. I will do that.
But you know what? Just okay. So I mean, I'm sorry to insert my opinion here, but this is kind of what we do. But so I did not like the way the prequel trilogy was written. I just think it was just really poor writing.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think Ewan McGregor, I think he did the best with what he had, because I've seen a lot of his other movies. He's a great actor, and I think like he did the best acting that he could do. That being said, some of the stuff that is currently like memes, I think those, like, you know, like I have the high ground, like I think stuff like that was like where Lucas was like, say it. So
yeah,
you know, I don't feel like that was something that he would have naturally said. So I don't know.
they're waiting until Ewan McGregor looks like Mr. Alec Guinness. It's gonna be a while, Nate.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I'm sad. I mean, I'm sure this will eventually still, the series will eventually still happen. I'm fine with the delay as long as they get the scripts right, as long as they put out a quality product like The Mandalorian, you know. Just because Obi-Wan's such a beloved character in the Star Wars universe, I'm sure they'd want to take the time, get the scripts right, do him justice, you know, because the last time we did see Obi-Wan was in the prequels. So I'm sure they want to get that bad taste of the prequels out of people's mouths, regardless of the memes. So very excited to see where this goes, and we will be reporting on this as more news comes forth. And I believe that wraps up this week's news from the Peak. Guys, you better be grateful for those pieces of news, you guys, because we had to climb the top of the Matterhorn to get those pieces of news. So talking about hiking earlier, you guys, I sprinted up the Matterhorn this morning to get those news articles for you guys. So straight from the Peak. Anyways, it's time for Alex in the Parks, you guys. Alex went to Disneyland, I believe, not this last week, but the week before, I believe.
No, I did both last week and this week. So
okay, well, you guys know what that means. In the park. Alex in the Parks. And Alex, before we play this short clip here, 4-minute clip actually, kind of short, why don't you go ahead and give an explanation to what the viewers will be seeing here?
So basically, I was gone for, I wasn't at Disneyland for like 6 weeks straight. Like I was just so busy over the winter that I just didn't have time. So what I did was, when I did come back, and half of this was filmed last week and half of it was filmed this past week. So what I did was I kind of went back over the places that I was previously watching and monitoring, just to see how they've progressed in the past couple weeks. So you'll see the entrance to Tomorrowland and my thoughts on, you know, on the progress there. And then the staircase that's being built at over in front of Space Mountain. And there was something else, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. And then definitely I wanted to show you guys the scrims that are up on Snow White's Scary Adventures, which I'll talk more about after the video.
Let's get into this video, you guys.
Well, I'm back at Disneyland. For me, it's been 6 weeks, which is a little bit too long for my taste. Now I'm here at the entrance to Tomorrowland, just checking on the progress work that's been happening the last 6 weeks that I've been gone. Looks like they got all the railing and light fixtures installed. Now this main entrance, this isn't the way it's gonna look this year. Starting in spring, whatever, you know, month that might actually happen. Starting in spring, they're gonna be actually filling in these planters with the brand new entrance that you guys have probably already heard of. I'm not going to linger on it too long because you can find it online. You can read all about it and stuff like that. But those new planter boxes will go there. And of course, if for those of you that don't like the idea, just keep in mind that concept art changes. Last time I was here, they were working on these old main entrance panels here. Now these panels were originally sculpted by the famed animator John Hench for the 1967 New Tomorrowland, and they were placed here as part of the New Tomorrowland entrance, and they were kind of like a aluminum color back then, but recently they've been removed and refinished and repainted. Thankfully they've been brought back, and they look really amazing. They've got this color to them. It's like gray, but it also is iridescent. It kind of reflects this almost rainbow-like color to it. All right, I'm here in front of Space Mountain to check on the staircase that they were building. It's like an emergency staircase in order to fit in with new OSHA requirements and things like that. I'm really surprised because before I disappeared from the face of Disneyland a while ago, I had actually been covering this project for about a month, if not more. And what amazes me is I've been gone for 6 weeks, and I've come back, and this staircase still isn't done. So I'm over in Pixie Hollow. Last time I was here, this pond was extremely dirty, and the light rigs and everything underneath the water were very rusted. The whole thing looked awful. And I took a picture of it because I was going to post it to Twitter, but I decided not to post it, and just to see how long it took for Disney to fix this. Thankfully, in the time I was gone, they did clean it. They did get it fixed up and nice looking again. So I'm very thankful for that. So I'm here in Adventureland to check on one of my favorite lampposts here. I've been covering this lamppost for at least 6 months, if not more, and I'm pretty sure the lamppost has been broken long since then. But the thing that bothers me about this lamppost, it's supposed to look like this, okay, just so you know. It's supposed to have these branches on it with these lanterns. But yeah, it's been broken, and the top has been covered in duct tape for at the very least, 6 months. I'm pretty sure it's been way longer than that. You're telling me that in at least 6 months, the carpenters and electricians of Disneyland, the people who are known for constructing the most elaborate and complex lighting and lamp rigs in the whole park, can't come up with a solution for that in a matter of 6 months? That's silliness. Okay, I'm here in Fantasyland, and forgive me if you can't see anything. Again, it's nighttime, but I'm filming this construction wall because, well, I mean, I didn't expect it to be here, but King Arthur's Carousel is closed for refurbishment. They have this massive tarp up and scaffolding for repaint work and stuff like that. And then they've put up this little sign here on the wall advertising the history of it. Okay, so now we're in front of Snow White's Scary Adventures. The tarps are up, and I can see some artwork of the front of the building. It looks like this artwork was specifically created for this construction because I don't recall this as being part of the 1983 artwork. I know you can't see anything again, I apologize for that, but I just wanted to video that the walls are up and even around the front entrance. So, and there's the castle over there, partially obscured by the walls. The rest of the attractions in Fantasyland besides the carousel and besides Snow White are all open and fine.
Okie dokie. So about that scrim. So when I was there, as I was mentioning on video, it was confusing because I looked at the scrim, and the artwork on the scrim, like Disney usually puts a photograph of the ride that they are covering up. But if they don't have a photograph, they'll use artwork. But this artwork did not look like the 1983 artwork. I noticed it immediately. The brickwork on it looked unusually bright for the artwork. And it was almost like in the dimness of the night, I was looking at it, and it's almost as if the stonework and the plaster work that they're going to be redoing for the ride is going to be like white. And so what happened was Chris and we walked around the other side towards the I would say like the south side of the construction work, and we realized it was brand new artwork because we looked at the way the people in the photograph were depict or the painting were depicted, and that's like kind of like a modern way that Disney paints people in their artwork. So we were like, oh yeah, that's definitely brand new, like that everyone's wearing like new clothes, all that. So it's just like, yeah. So anyway, so this scrim isn't just any scrim. This is gonna be the way that the exterior of the building will look. And again, the brickwork and stonework and all that before that were like dark grays and very like dark colors and stuff like that. But it appears as though the new look is going to be a lot brighter and whiter. And it kind of actually reminds me of the brightness of Snow White's castle in the movie, the one that the queen actually lived in before. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what it reminds me of, and that kind of is. It was just interesting. I felt like I had to mention it.
Yeah, well, thank you to Mr. Alex for filming that Alex in the Parks. And before we move on to our main topics, we do have a voicemail from none other than Mr. Avery himself. So let's go ahead and give this VM a listen right now.
At the moment I heard Shanghai was going to close for its coronavirus, I was expecting Hong Kong to do the same just to be safe. It is a costly move because it's Chinese New Year, but I think it's for the better. I think it's a responsible move to close the port because you don't want to take any chances. It's also just like North Korea, how they closed their borders for tourism until further notice. I mean, it's a responsible move. You might lose revenue, but that's okay. If it's to keep your public safe, then that's what needs to be done.
I agree, Mr. Avery. Even if they do lose money, it is responsible for them to close both the parks just to stop or to help the stop of the spread of the disease. And now, moving on to our main topics, you guys. We got some great main topics. Our first topic is Fastpass coming to Smugglers Run at Walt Disney World? Spoilers, yes it is. Second topic today, new concept art revealed for the new Disney Vacation Club Tower being constructed at the Disneyland Hotel. And finally, we will be getting into I'm sure, a very interesting discussion about the new live-action Bambi film that is currently in the works. No release date set for that just yet, but for our first topic, like I said, Fastpass coming to Smugglers Run in Walt Disney World, you guys. This comes to us from Blog Mickey. I love Blog Mickey, you guys. I've said this enough times. Go support blogmickey.com, also on Twitter. Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run getting Fastpass Plus starting February 19th in Walt Disney World. It's not yet known if it will be or when it will be added to the Disneyland version, although I believe the infrastructure is already installed at the moment in Disneyland for the Fastpass for Smugglers Run. I'm pretty sure like the queues, everything are all set up, and of course the scanners are there as well. So yeah, Alex, very interesting move. I think we predicted a while back, I feel like at the beginning of the year almost, that we would not be seeing Fastpass being added to these Star Wars Land attractions this soon, if at all. I think we had a discussion in the past about that. So Alex, what are your thoughts on Fastpass coming to Smugglers Run at Walt Disney World starting February 19th?
That's cool. I mean, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, I knew it would happen, because they built this whole Fastpass queue, and they built the scanning kiosks and whatever. I mean, ours is going to get it as well, because we have our scanning kiosks and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I kind of expected it,
Okay. Well, before we move on, Bianca said, I don't want to see Bambi's mom die in live action. Bianca, we'll be getting into that very soon. I'm excited to talk about the live action Bambi stuff. But yeah, I'd like to, I guess, take this moment on the same topic of fast passes to explain, I guess, our thoughts on Fastpass and why we might think Disney goes a little bit too far in some places when it comes to putting fast passes in attractions. Because, you know, last year, Disney almost added Fastpass to Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland. You guys, I'm sure you remember those kiosks, scanning kiosks being installed under tarps for like a week, and then they were removed just randomly out of nowhere. Which, you know, Pirates is probably the one ride that does not need a fast pass just because it has such a high capacity, and it rarely ever breaks down as well. So I think in the past we've touched on our thoughts on fast passes. I think when Jeremy was on, we touched on it. But Alex, what are your thoughts overall as on fast pass, and whether or not we still need Fastpass with the advent of the recent boarding passes being used for Rise of the Resistance, and you know, Fastpasses notoriously increasing the standby wait time lines.
Well, I mean, technically the boarding pass is like a fast pass, except there's no one waiting in the standby queue.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but when you have a ride, I guess the boarding pass is technically better because there's no one waiting in the standby queue. But, sorry, it's like early, and I'm like trying to think. I need more coffee.
Do you want some Snapple to wake you up, Alex? It's got a lot of sugar.
Okay, so I think that Fastpass is a horrible thing. Because I think we talked on a different episode about how Fastpass makes the lines longer in every way you can think of, for every reason. And they created Fastpass because people were waiting in these long lines, or at least what they thought was long, until after Fastpass came out. You know, people would be like, oh, 30 minutes for Indiana Jones Adventure. Oh, no. And then here comes Fastpass, and they're like, hey, you don't have to wait in line. Just get a reservation using Fastpass, and you can come back and ride the ride. And the thing is what happens to that is, next thing you know, all these people are getting virtual passes to get on the ride ahead of you. And the worst part is you can't see them because they're not in line. So you look at the standby line and you go, oh, that's not very long. And then you get in, the standby line gets excruciatingly long. And then you realize, you're like, wait, the line doesn't look long, but there's a reason why it says, 65-minute wait for Indiana Jones Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Because they essentially doubled the amount of people they could put in a queue, except that the double is invisible. So, yeah. And so it just made everything worse at Disneyland. Because what would happen is, when the line was like 35, 45 minutes long without Fastpass, people would be like, oh, that's too long. We're going to go ride something that doesn't have that kind of wait time.
Mm-hmm.
And with Fastpass, Disney claims that, oh, well, with Fastpass, people can now get a reservation and go ride something else. And it's like, what am I trying to say? So, yes, you get a Fastpass, you can go ride something else, but it ends up being that a bunch of other people who got Fastpass are also getting on those rides. So it hasn't really solved that problem. Now I want to read what in the chat what Mr. Sir said. Alex is so wrong on this. The Fastpass system is great. My brother and I never wait. Sucks for people that don't take advantage of Fastpass, but that's their problem, not Fastpass holders. That's halfway true. True, you're not waiting in the standby line because you have a Fastpass. But the problem is that not everyone can have a Fastpass at every moment. I'm sure you know this. I'm sure you know that once you get a Fastpass, you can't get another one for that park. You have to wait till your fast pass is done. So essentially, the fast pass tells you to come back, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 hours from then, or even more. And basically you can't get another fast pass. So you are going in a regular queue eventually. I'm sure you and your brother go ride something else during the time that you're waiting for your fast pass to come back. So essentially you're taking up space in the line even when you're not there. So that's the problem. It's not that because you have a fast pass, you aren't waiting in line so it feels good. The problem is it's the people who are waiting in line because they can't get a fast pass for that ride. So, if it were possible for everyone to get a fast pass all at once for the ride, there would be no such thing as a standby queue. So that's the problem I'm conveying here, is that when you have a fast pass, it feels great. But in the moments when you can't get one because you already have one, then you're waiting in excruciatingly longer lines than you normally would have. Because when I was a kid, like let's say you went up to Pirates of the Caribbean, if the line exceeded like 20 feet past the main entrance, then you kind of knew, you could gauge it. You can go, okay, this is a 25-minute long line.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not. Okay, I know you're all are like, wait, if it exceeds the eggs or the entrance, that means it's like 45 minutes. You're right. Today it does. But when I was a kid, if the line exceeded that, it was only like 25 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to get on the ride, even though the line was that long. But with Fast Pass, the reason why that's double is because I guess it's not Fast Pass anymore. But anyway, people have all these DOS system passes and things like that. So that kind of makes that worse. But let's say that was a bad example. Let me see here. I guess I could just say Indiana Jones Adventure is the best example. When I was a kid, you could gauge how long the wait was by looking at it. And now you can't, because literally double the amount of people are waiting for that ride, but half of that double is invisible. So that's the problem here, is it's good for some people, but not good for everyone. One little area, but yeah.
We do have a voicemail from Mr. T-Will about Fastpass, I believe in the Magic Kingdom. So let's go ahead and give this a listen. And from Mr. T-Will, this is a lengthy one, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So buckle up, you guys.
You guys mentioning Pirates of the Caribbean getting Fastpass at Disneyland, that's been the case since the Fastpass Plus, My Magic Plus, was introduced back in 2012. So we've been experiencing a Fastpass Pirates and a Fastpass Small World. And it's one of those things where it might make sense on a case of, well, you need as many Fast Passes because, we're having this be part of, it's part of being at a Disney hotel. You then get earlier Fast Passes. And since a lot of people are going to get Fast Passes, might as well expand it to every ride, not only high capacity rides, but rides like Peter Pan. The only ones I think don't have are Astro Orbiter and People Mover. I think those are the only rides in the entire resort that don't have Fast Passes. But it does increase wait times. And if you look at it cynically, you could take it as not so much improving guest experiences, but just getting people out into stores and restaurants more often so that they could spend more money. It's a system, especially here at Walt Disney World, less so in Disneyland because it is a locals park, so they could do, I think, better Fast Pass ideas like Max Pass and so forth. But here at Disney World, it's such a mess and increases wait times even worse than original Fastpass. And it's also very limiting in how it's handled here, that it just needs an overhaul. I think Fastpass all across the parks, just in general, need a rethinking and a better implementation to make the guest experience front and center. And if they can't fix it, then maybe we should just take the nuclear option and just get rid of it. Going back to just standard standby. Who knows?
Yeah, I love when T-Will talks. He's very knowledgeable. So thank you, Mr. T-Will, for sending in that lovely voicemail.
So, okay, so I have to clear some things up because I know I confused a lot of people right there when I talked about Pirates of the Caribbean. And part of the reason is because I'm incredibly sleepy. But what I meant about Pirates of the Caribbean is they have something called DOS, which is for people with disabilities. They can get on rides without having to wait in the actual queue. They can wait elsewhere in the park, wherever essentially it's like taking a reservation for the ride. Once they introduced DOS to Pirates of the Caribbean, it made the line twice as long. Even though, so when I say the line twice as long, I mean the wait time of the ride, not necessarily how many people are in line. So when you see the line go 20 feet past the entrance of Pirates of the Caribbean, when I was a kid, you could gauge that as anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes is how long the wait was, because the amount of people waiting in line was the amount of people waiting in line. But with DOS, and then of course the people getting on using the wheelchair ramp and the exit, so that's even more people, that literally doubled the meaning of the wait. So when you saw that same amount of people in line, now today, that means that the wait is probably around 45 minutes. So that's what I meant here is, and I realized that I was talking about DOS, and I realized that's not the same as Fastpass, but it does the same thing as Fastpass. It makes lines longer. So, and it's like I'm saying to everybody, I know everyone's like, but I love Fastpass. We don't have to wait. It's like, what I'm trying to convey here is, if Fastpass didn't exist, you guys would be able to get on every ride you wanted in half the time it usually takes. So instead of getting your Fastpass, and then, like, let's say you get Fastpass for Space Mountain, right? It says you get it at noon. It says come back at 2:00, right? Because the line is like, let's say the line is like 65 minutes long for Space Mountain. Okay, so I hope you're all keeping up with this. The line for Space Mountain is 65 minutes long. It's noon. You get your Fastpass. It says come back at 2 p.m. Then you decide, let's go on Big Thunder while we wait. So you go on Big Thunder. Big Thunder is like, I guess, let's say like a 45-minute wait, right? You end up going on Big Thunder. By the time you get off, you have time to walk around, and then you can probably get on one more ride, maybe, if there's enough time, and then you can get on Space Mountain. So that's 3 rides in 2 hours. Before Fastpass ever existed, that line for Space Mountain wouldn't have been 65 minutes for that many people waiting in line. That the people that you see waiting in line, that would have been more like 35 minutes. So you would have, if you had gotten in line back then, you got on Space Mountain in 35 minutes. Big Thunder would have been half that, so that would have been 25 minutes. And then after going on those 2, you could go on 2 more or 3 more. So that's up to getting on 5 rides in 2 hours, as opposed to today, where using Fastpass, you could only do at best up to 3 rides in 2 hours. It's not time efficient, is what I'm saying. So that's the problem here. And the reason why I say this, I know you're like, well, wait, if Fastpass didn't exist, then that Space Mountain line wouldn't be 35 minutes. It'd still be 65 because everyone would wait. Not necessarily, because what happens when people visually see a long line, they get discouraged from getting in it. So that's the problem here, is that people visually can't see how long the line is anymore compared to how long it's going to take to get on it. So therefore, they see a slightly shorter line than what they think it is, and they go on it. So that's what I'm trying to say here, is that when I was a kid, you could get on twice as many rides in that same amount of time, because what you saw was what you got in line, if you follow my meaning. So That's what I'm trying to say here, and it's just hard to convey because FastPass has been around for so long that that's all people are used to looking at now. They look at it and they go, "This is normal." But I mean, for all of us that remember before FastPass, it was easier to get on rides. You got on way more rides in a day. I went the other day with some friends, and well, not the other day, a couple weeks ago, with some friends, and we only got on 3 rides in the day. And they were like, wow, I remember a time when you could get on way more than that. And it's like, yeah, you could. And it wasn't necessarily because it was less people in the park. I mean, true that there is that, but the park has also expanded to gain more people. But it's the fact that how Disney uses your time. So that begs the question, why is there FastPass? Why would Disney make the lines twice as long? And the reason is exactly what someone else said earlier. I think it was on the phone call. Disney wants you to spend more money. And with all the lines twice as long, you're not going to want to get on too many more rides before your FastPass time is ready. So you're more likely to go into shops or food restaurants and things like that. Like, you're more likely to spend money in the time that you're waiting for FastPass than you are if there was no FastPass. That's why Fastpass exists. It's not for your convenience. It's for their convenience. Whew.
T-Will said the ratio for standby to Fastpass, according to him, in the queue, standby and Fastpass is 1 standby for every 4 Fastpass people, or 4 Fastpass people for every 1 standby. That's the ratio, according to T-Will, which is kind of crazy to think. They cram 4 Fastpass people in their queue for every 1 person that's in the standby. Yeah, Corvin asked if T-Will has a source on that. I'd love to see that source, because that is a very high number, but I wouldn't put it past Disney. Yeah, Alex hit it right on the head. So did T-Will in the voicemail. It's kind of genius by Disney when they first introduced it as well, to get more people out of the queues into the streets, into the shops, into the restaurants, to spend more money. Yeah, and the illusion of convenience as well. Alex is going to spark a FastPass revolution. Guys, hashtag eliminate FastPass.
It's just unfortunate because I guarantee you guys, when Disney announces the next ride to get FastPass, watch the wait time double. I kid you not, that's what will happen. So it's just, oh man, it just makes me so mad because it's not faster. It's not efficient is what I mean. So
I'm going to FastPass the train. What if they've introduced a FastPass for the Disneyland Railroad?
I heard someone ask that in the queue once.
Really?
I was waiting in the queue and someone was like, isn't there a FastPass for this?
Well, waiting in the queue is half part the fun. You get to see the train come up, wait for whatever. Anyways, hashtag eliminate FastPass, you guys. Get it trending on Twitter. All 30 of you watching the stream, get it trending. We want Disney to see this. But anyways, before we, I guess, make this topic a little bit too long, because this is just barely the first topic. We have 2 others to get to as well. Before we move on, is there ever going to be a replacement for Fastpass? And that's sort of the question that popped into my mind once these boarding passes started being used for Rise of the Resistance in Florida and for here in California as well. And I guess before we move on, we should preface what a boarding pass is compared to what a Fastpass is. So, classic Fastpass, you go to the kiosk next to the ride, insert your park ticket. It gives you a return time to get into the Fastpass queue. Say, like Alex was giving an example earlier, say you get there, rope drop, you go to Space Mountain, you get a Fastpass for Space Mountain at 8:30. Put in your ticket. It gives you a return time for maybe 9:30, so you can spend that hour to walk around, spend more money, as Disney would want you to do. And then at 9:30, you can come back, redeem your Fastpass, get in the Fastpass queue, which bypasses, in regards to Space Mountain, bypasses almost the entire standby queue, minus the inside waiting part. with boarding passes, though, at least the way they've been used recently here in for Rise of the Resistance, boarding passes are really first come, first serve. In regards to Fastpass, sure, Fastpasses run out throughout the day. You see rides like Radiator Springs Racers, one of the most popular rides in the whole resort, run out of fast passes by maybe like noon or 2 o'clock sometimes. But with boarding passes, it's really a whole different animal because you have to get, I'm not sure if you have to be, at least for Rise of the Resistance, I'm not sure if you have to be in Star Wars land for like the geolocation to know that you're there to have the ability to get the return time. I'm not quite 100% sure how that works, or if you can get it when you're in like Fantasyland. I'm pretty sure you have to be in Galaxy's Edge, so the geolocation thing will.
I don't think so. I think you can be even on Main Street.
Okay, well, either way, you have to be inside the park. I know that for sure. You have to be inside the park. So with these boarding passes, you get on the Disneyland app, and I'm pretty sure you just like refresh the app until you eventually get the boarding pass. And I'm pretty sure they only give out a certain amount of boarding passes per day, same with Fastpass, but again, they're first come, first serve, and in the example of Rise of the Resistance, those boarding passes run out, and I think I've seen the reports being in Disneyland running out in like 2 minutes almost of the boarding passes going live. All boarding passes are gone within like 2 or 3 minutes, so yeah, very different animal when it comes to comparing the two Fastpass and these boarding passes. So yeah, that sort of begs the question, will Fastpass be replaced by boarding passes? And I guess what are the pros and cons of replacing Fastpass with boarding passes?
Well, if I may say, I don't like boarding passes either. And it's because it's like what Matt said, it's like first come, first serve. So boarding
it's also worth noting as well, for at least for Rise of the Resistance, there's no standby line either. It's only boarding passes. So that in the future, if they decide to expand these boarding passes to other rides, there might be a standby line as well, just because, you know, of course they got to have a standby line. But for this one example for Rise with the boarding passes, there's no standby line. It's just boarding passes you can get on the ride.
Yes. So boarding, so like Matt said, boarding pass, there's nobody in the standby queue. But the thing I don't like about boarding pass is that you get a boarding pass and it means to come back at a certain time. But when you do, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to get in the line.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still first come, first serve. So it's like whoever shows up during that time period on time, they get to go on the ride. Or I don't know exactly how they determine it, but I've heard people who have boarding passes say that they haven't been able to get on the line in the line for the ride because they weren't selected. So that's a problem with it. But I was speaking to Matt about a different way of doing things where you don't have to have a standby queue at all and you don't have to have a boarding pass. So I was talking on a different episode of this podcast about a ride in a park in Holland called I'm going to ruin the name, so please forgive me, but I'm going to skip past it. Efteling Park. They have a roller coaster there where the only way you can get on the roller coaster is by taking a paper ticket from the guy at the entrance of the ride. The paper ticket tells you what exact time to come back to the ride, and you get there on time. And when you get there on time, you can go immediately onto the ride, no standing around. You just go straight from the gate when you hand the guy your ticket back, straight to the ride vehicle. It's that fast. And granted, you might wait several hours, but the great news is even though you have that, you have other rides in the park and whatever. But this was a really awesome system that the park was testing, because the idea is, what if you could eliminate waiting in line altogether? What if you just got a reservation for every single ride throughout your day? And what if people, okay, I'm trying to say, I'm so tired.
It's early, you guys.
Yeah, it is. So the idea is, what if you could replace all the queues in every single ride of the entire park with virtual queues? So essentially, it resolves the problem of the queue being twice as long. It resolves the problem of even having a queue. You have a return time that is very specific. It says come back at 12:05. You have to be there at 12 o'clock. That way you can just kind of like kind of walk around and be like, okay, it's almost 12:05. It's almost 12:05. And then 12:05, you get in line or get in the ride, and then you go straight to the vehicle. So the thing is that it's a successful system. The problem with it is that because it's so successful, it's extremely efficient. You can just keep getting more of these passes and keep going on other rides, and you never need to go to a gift shop because you're so busy going on rides. That's the only reason why Disney hasn't adopted that system, is because they can make more money if you're waiting for things. So that's the problem. But anyway, yes, that's a system I really wish Disney would adopt. If not for, the fact that they're going to be missing out on potential, profits from people buying stuff while they're waiting for rides, then at least for the comfort and efficiency of their guests. I mean, think about it, you guys. Disney is all about, please come back, please return. We love you. If you don't like your experience at Disneyland because you're doing nothing but waiting in lines all day and the place is overcrowded, that makes you not want to come back, right? I mean, so many people have told me I'm not renewing my annual pass. So many others who've gone for the first time go, this was great, but I'm not coming back. So it's like, if you could eliminate waiting in lines, imagine how awesome your experience would be. So that's something I wish Disney would replace it with, is an actual reservation system that is not at the sacrifice of people waiting in the standby line.
Reverend Puck said, let's just replace Fastpass with those electronic pucks you get at restaurants that light up and vibrate when it's your turn. Relive your Olive Garden experiences. Guys, honestly, Disney, hit us up. We got great ideas. Or I guess that wasn't our idea. That was his idea. But hit Reverend Puck up. He's got great ideas. Anyways, let's see. We do have one voicemail we should get to before we move on from this topic. And, I guess we'll touch on this chat first. Do you guys think our parks here should start the attraction lottery system like at Tokyo Disney Resort? Use your park ticket to scan a machine for an attraction or show to see if you win. That sounds like an interesting idea. I didn't know that existed in Tokyo. Sort of like a Wheel of Fortune or Price is Right wheel lottery thing. That sounds pretty neat. I don't know how that would affect the queues, but anyways, let's get into this voicemail here. This is from someone new, you guys, someone who's never left a voicemail before, so let's get into this.
Hello, this is Nico1221, and I have to agree with Fastpass's increasing wait times. The big one I noticed was Midway Mania, because the ones are finally starting to slow down, but as soon as they added Fastpasses, shot right back up. And now there's never been a wait time below 30 minutes that I've seen for Midway Mania. Here's some smart advice. Use Single Rider. No one knows about it, so use it.
Yeah, Single Rider is another option. I feel like it's kind of misleading to say that nobody knows about Single Rider when, I feel like if you go on, those generic BuzzFeed Disneyland tips and tricks and hacks, using Single Rider is one of those things that would be on there. I feel like people know about Single Rider, but yeah, that's another option if you don't feel like waiting in lines. If you're there alone in the park, you can get on Single Rider. I think Radiator Springs Racers has Single Rider, so does the Matterhorn, I believe, have Single Rider. I can't recall the others. Maybe Space Mountain. I'm not sure. But yeah, really great topic. I'm glad we got this great discussion out of it. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on Fastpass, whether it be in Disneyland, Walt Disney World. We should dedicate an entire topic to Walt Disney World's Fastpass in the future, just because that is such a mess as well, even worse than Disneyland, I feel like. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments down below on Fastpass. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it should go away or possibly be replaced by these boarding groups, these newly introduced boarding groups? And moving on
or
to
my idea.
Or Alex's idea, yeah, which would be even better. But with your idea, you can get the cute little animation of BB-8 on your phone when you get the boarding group.
Yes, you can. You don't necessarily have to use paper tickets.
Oh, I guess that's true.
That's just what Efteling uses. You could do it on your phone, and your phone could alert you, hey, you got 5 minutes to get to the ride, you know?
I guess that's true. Well, Disney...
What if it's like Mickey on your phone? It's like, oh, move your butt.
Move your butt. Oh, my goodness. Well, anyways, before we move on to our second... Well, actually, let's just go ahead and get into our second topic. This shouldn't take really too long. New concept art has been revealed for the Disney Vacation Club Tower coming to the Disneyland Hotel. And as you see on screen here, that is what it looks like. I'm not really sure what the orientation for this is. I'm not sure what tower we're seeing here on the left side.
So the tower you see on the left, that is the Fantasy... No, I'm sorry. That is... Wait, let's see. Hold on.
Is that
no, that's the Frontier Tower.
Frontier, okay.
Yeah, so those windows from the Vacation Club, those are facing precisely east.
Okay, yeah, I can picture it now. I see. Anyways, if you guys may not remember, we reported this back, I believe, in November when a permit was filed to construct a new tower at the Disneyland Hotel for Disney Vacation Club members. And thanks to good old OC Register, wink, not good old OC Register, we have a brand new... I feel like we bash on OC Register so much. I feel like none of them have ever seen an episode of this podcast, and they'll never hear all the things we have to say about them. But anyways, thanks to the OC Register, we have a brand new look at what the tower will look like, which is what this is. Planned to open in 2023, this new tower will have a Mickey-shaped spa, outdoor pool bar, and a multi-level grand villas with 350 rooms, you guys. Very, yeah, Ryan said very modern look. Reminds me of the Holiday Inn. It does kind of look Holiday Inn, or I guess just like generic hotel-ish. But I guess you could say that about the other like outsides of the Disneyland Hotel towers. They're not really anything special necessarily. The blue windows are really neat, but that's really the only sort of interesting visual elements they have going for them on the outside. Oh, Alex like breathed in like he was gonna say something.
So I was gonna say, do you guys remember a time when Disney used to build things like the Grand Floridian or the Grand Californian?
My God, yeah.
And it's like now all you see is these generic looking towers. I mean, okay, granted, this tower, you know, if you the kid in me looks at this tower and goes, wow, that's really futuristic looking. That's so like sci-fi. It looks beautiful. But then like the artist in me goes, God, that's so lacking in creativity. You know, like it's almost like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I can't describe. I mean, it does look beautiful for something that's futuristic looking, but it's so lacking in character. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like it has any emotion or any love in it. It's just, or it doesn't even look homey. You go to Grand Californian and it's like you feel like, oh my God, I want to live here. This is my home. But this looks like, oh, okay, this is that place I'm going to. You know, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Anyway, so yeah, it looks cool though. I do have to say that, and you know, and the colors, it's like kind of visually stunning. I'm wondering, because we're looking at the side that faces the resort. I'm wondering about the side that faces the ranky neighborhoods beyond. I'm wondering, like, does the other side have rooms on it, or are those just the hallway windows? You know? I hope it's just hallway windows.
Well,
because I wouldn't want to pay all that money for Disney Vacation Club to see like the ghettos beyond Disney, you know.
This is the Chapek imagination, says T-Will. Bruh. Well, anyway, someone asked where this was located, and this is the infographic that was provided back in November when the OC Register published this article. So here's the Frontier Tower, Adventure Tower, Fantasy Tower. Oh, it zoomed out. And here's where the new tower will be located, right? It keeps zooming out. Right there, right next to the Frontier Tower. So, yeah, off of South Walnut Street, I guess. I didn't know that street existed, but for that one person that asked, Thomas the Next Walt, that's where it's going to be located.
For you diehard fans, this tower is being built on the area that used to be the Fantasy Waters show.
Oh.
Which I remember as a kid and loving to see every time. To go there all the time and watch Fantasy Waters.
Carrie says she's excited because she is a DVC member. Carrie, we gotta get like Carrie to be like our insider for like room reviews, DVC room reviews.
No, we gotta pay off Carrie so that way she can get us a room there. We can stay there.
I have all but $5 in my bank account. If that will cover the fees, let me know.
Matt's got this camera that he wants to get rid of.
Oh, it's a working camera, Carrie. It takes beautiful pictures and lovely videos. Just kidding. Well, anyways, it's sort of, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's really funny to me to look back to actually the very beginning of this episode when we were, or the very beginning of the show, I should say, of the podcast, back in 2017 when we were discussing Eastern Gateway and those grand plans to build all those that new entrance plaza on the eastern side of the park, along with the new hotel that was announced a few months later to replace that. And now it's just been, that project has just been downgraded to this new tower for the Disneyland Hotel. So it's just funny to me. Look back. Oh, we could have gotten the Eastern Gateway. Oh, wait, that got canceled. But then, oh, wait, we were getting a new 4-diamond hotel right next to the Disneyland Hotel. Oh, wait, that's canceled. And then it's like, this is like the scraps left over from those projects. We're getting a timeshare instead, you guys. Well, anyways, yeah, I don't really feel like there's much other to discuss on this. Alex, do you have any closing thoughts on this topic?
I hope it's beautiful.
I mean, yeah.
I hope that it, like, because, you know, sometimes on paper it looks so nice, but then in real life it's like, whoa. You know? But,
yeah, I mean, it has some interesting, like, these on the borders right here. It's sort of like, well, I don't know what that would be called. It's like cracked. The rock is, I don't know. And then there's like color mosaic almost stuff here on the left side. So I'm sure it'll be pretty, but yeah, nothing really too groundbreaking. But before we move into our final topic, let's go ahead and take a break to hear a little word from the show's sponsors. If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live. And since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram.
Why would you say that?
Hello, everybody. We are back. You guys have no idea what we were talking about, but that's okay.
It is vomit-inducing, is what it is.
Oh yeah, guys, rip the video or my camera. This is what it used to be. That's where the screen used to be, and now we're stuck with this rinky-dinky webcam. Not that it doesn't look bad; it looks clear, but just minus the 5-second delay. But anyways, getting into our final topic of the day. And this is going to be an interesting one. A live-action remake of the classic film Bambi is in the works at Disney. Now, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Captain Marvel writer Geneva Robertson Dorwet, again, I'm sorry if I butchered that, and Lindsay Beer are set to write the new remake. This new remake. It's reported that this live-action Bambi film will be a quote-unquote companion piece to films like The Jungle Book and The Lion King, and is expected to use the same technology that helped bring those films to life, the photorealism, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's where we are at now, you guys. Disney's remaking Bambi, and I have many words, not nice words to say, but I'll try and be nice for the podcast to say about Disney remaking Bambi. Before we get into that, though, I feel like a while back on the show, I made a prediction that Disney would not be remaking any more of these live-action remakes from the Golden Age films like Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Dumbo, all those films. Since the last one they did, which coincidentally was Dumbo, did not do as well as The Lion King or even as Aladdin, I think, financially at least. Story-wise, mess. But now we have this Bambi film to look forward to, as well as a live-action retelling of Snow White, Pinocchio, and Peter Pan coming in the future as well. So I figured, I guess in my mindset, I figured that not a lot of people would have as much emotional attachment to these Golden Age films as they would for, say, something like The Lion King or even Aladdin, because The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast are those, I feel like, tentpole animated films when it comes to Disney's catalog of animated films. Whereas these Golden Age films, these films that Disney first put out when they were starting to dabble in the live action animated, or I guess in the animated film market, just compared to those. Before we get into my thoughts, Alex, what are your thoughts on this live-action Bambi remake in the works at Disney?
Do you really want to hear my thoughts?
I really do want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, why don't we just, take the Mona Lisa and then just redo it in Photoshop?
Honestly.
Put that out there.
Honestly.
Why don't we just do that? I mean, why do we need good art when we could just remake it with computers and then sell it for more money?
Mm-hmm.
It just bothers me. It bothers me so much. I don't even like the movie Bambi, but oh
my God.
The thing is though, is that I can recognize that the movie Bambi is true art. I mean, guys, we're not talking about, them making a SpongeBob movie. That's different. SpongeBob is not art. It's funny, but it's not art. Bambi is art.
SpongeBob is art. I would argue the contrary.
No.
Anyways.
He's a sponge. So, Bambi, all these classic Disney movies, every hand-drawn animation movie that Disney ever made. Oh, okay, maybe not ever made, but anyway, the most popular classic animated movies were popular not just because of their good stories, but also because they're visually stunning. Disney, in every one of these good versions of these movies, they were trying to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bambi was something new. It was storytelling through visual art. I mean, Look at the movie Bambi doesn't have very much dialogue, and the reason is because they're telling you the story visually, and that's not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like you can easily bore people when you don't do it correctly.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Bambi is not boring to most people. It's boring to me, but not boring to most people. And so the thing is like, it really is art. They really were doing whole new things with animation back then. Back then, animation wasn't, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Animation was Bambi, was Snow White,
Pinocchio.
Was Cinderella. It was art. They were finding artists to do this work. I mean, have you guys ever looked at non-Disney art that Ivan Earl or I forget her name off the top of my head.
Not Mary Blair.
Mary Blair. There you go. if you ever look at non-Disney art that those two artists did, it is stunning. It is modern. It is beautiful. And Walt had a ton of these people, doing this kind of stuff and using their influences to make each and every animated movie different. And so that's the thing, is like, when they make these movies into live action, they're essentially just taking these beautiful works of art and then putting them through a machine that'll translate everything, because it is, most of these movies, these live action Disney movies, are like word for word copies of the originals. Okay. And then they're turning them into cheap computer generated imagery, which, unlike these movies, which every frame had to be painted, one by one, these figures require no art. Once you create the model, you can manipulate the model, so you can take freeze frame pictures of the model moving, and it becomes an image of a live action looking lion moving. So it's just, it bothers me because it's the degradation of art for the sake of money. And if it was the degradation of art for the sake of innovation, and it just turned out that it made no money, I'd be like, okay, well, all right. But this isn't for innovation. This is for money. So it's just really, it's upsetting. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, and I'd like to preface this again by saying, if you guys have not seen Bambi, please go watch Bambi. I feel like, for me, Bambi's not the strongest story-wise, but visually, Bambi is the most beautiful film Disney has ever produced, besides Fantasia. It's the most stunning. It's just, honestly, it's hard to explain. If you guys just watch the movie, you'll know what I'm trying to say. And even Alex touched on this as well. The film is not driven by dialogue. It's a very character-oriented story. You follow Bambi from his birth, grows up, and then that's pretty much it. Again, the story's driven a lot by the visuals. It's driven by the music as well, I feel like, is a huge part of what makes this film work. I love, love, love the score of Bambi. It's one of my favorite Disney scores from a film ever. And it's interesting to me to look at like a remake like Aladdin or even The Lion King, where those films have like definite plots, definite characters, I feel like, where you can just shot for shot remake that. Sure, that's totally fine. You can just do that because those films stand on their own when it comes to characters, when it comes to dialogue, all that kind of stuff. You can remake that into live action, release it in 2020, in this day and age at least, and people will be fine with it. But Bambi is such an odd choice, I feel like, even in compared to films like Snow White and Pinocchio or even Dumbo, I feel like, as well. Pinocchio has been remade 1 billion times. I'm fine with them remaking Pinocchio. We've already seen cheap knockoffs of the film, or I guess just different interpretations, I should say, of the film throughout the years. Even Snow White as well, we've seen different interpretations of that, live action as well. But with Bambi, it's completely different for me because there is no... I feel like if Bambi were released in this day and age, it would not be as critically received as it would have been back when it came out, just because today's audience is so tuned to fast-paced storytelling, whereas Bambi is extremely slow-paced storytelling. Lots of scenes with no dialogue whatsoever. The score just undertones the entire thing. It's what makes it work, the score, for me.
I don't know. I think that if they released Bambi today, but all they had to do was just show his mom exploding in a giant explosion.
Oh my god.
I have to, okay, but all jokes aside, I have to respond to Thomas, the next Walt, in the chat here. He says, also, CGI is not at all cheap. Wrong. It's dirt cheap. It is more than dirt cheap. There's a reason why Disney Animation switched from hand-drawn to CGI, because it is so cheap. They used to employ thousands of people to paint the cells for the Disney hand-drawn animation. So you had hundreds of artists working on the scene by scene frames, and then you had thousands of people painting the cells. It took forever. It took like at least 5 years to make a movie. Whereas a CGI movie could be made in 2 years with a lot less people. If anything, CGI movies have a lot more producers, executive directors, and blah, blah, blah. They have a lot more of that stuff, but they don't have more artists. They have a lot less. And it's extremely cheap because imagine for a hand-drawn animated movie, you're buying paper, clear cells, machinery to photograph those cells. All this stuff is disposable, by the way. But with CGI, you buy a computer and you keep that computer for several movies until you upgrade it. It's cheap. And then the other thing too is every time in an animated movie, every time Bambi moves, even like an eighth of an inch, they have to completely redraw him. And that takes forever. With CGI, you don't have to do that. You create virtually one drawing, which it takes longer than painting Bambi, but you create virtually one model and you can manipulate that model as if it were an actual three-dimensional figure. And you just manipulate it, take a screenshot, manipulate it, take a screenshot over and over and over again, and you have a cheap movie. Super, super cheap. The most you spend on the movie is maybe on upgrading your computers to handle the latest, software. And maybe if you decided to actually spend money, you'd hire good CGI artists who can do like really amazing work. But imagine this. When you're working on a CGI deer like Bambi, how much better can you get than real life when you're doing live action? Once you reach a quality that looks like real life, you're done. It's over with. But imagine all the things you can do with animation that you can't do with real life. And it's all hand drawn. It's a difference between art and manufacturing, and CGI is manufacturing. That's just how I feel about it.
Well, I guess it's also worth noting that there are some CGI films out there who are not necessarily cheap. If you look at an example like Into the Spider-Verse, I'm not sure if Alex has seen Into the Spider-Verse, but Into the Spider-Verse, CGI film made by Sony of all companies. Beautiful film that takes CGI and puts it into a whole new direction, I feel like. I'm sure everybody's seen Into the Spider-Verse.
It looks like a comic book, doesn't it?
Yeah, they use CGI to their advantage. It's not necessarily like a cheap film when you look at like a DreamWorks. I guess DreamWorks isn't like cheap, but you guys get the point I'm saying. But anyways.
Oh, T-Will asks, if it's cheaper, then why did Frozen have 150 budget? Because they originally drew it in hand-drawn to CGI. So that's why it costed so much.
Fun fact. I did not know that.
Go on YouTube. There's a whole, they have like, well, I don't know if it's the whole movie, but they have at least huge scenes where the movie was drawn in hand-drawn animation. And it kind of looked cool. And then like halfway through making the movie, they were like, why don't we do this in CGI? And that's what they did. Like, and I think they even did that to Tangled too. Tangled was originally going to be hand-drawn. No, let's switch to CGI. So those two movies, Tangled and Frozen, they originally almost entirely completed those movies in hand-drawn animation and then switched to CGI right when they were almost ready to put it in post-production. And then Frozen 2 had the same budget because they decided that they were going to upgrade all their computers and everything. So Frozen 2 was that expensive because they upgraded a bunch of stuff to make the imagery even better than Frozen 1. So that had nothing to do with the cost of making the movie, really. It was more about just upgrading what they had and building a new building to handle that animation. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like...
I'll look it up right now.
I feel like going back to what I was saying earlier, when these films were originally released back in the 30s, back in the 40s, people were blown away by the art because these movies are pieces of art. I feel like, at least, to us. They're pieces of art. And people were blown away by the imagery that they saw on screen because these films are beautiful. And I feel like nowadays people wouldn't necessarily get as blown away as they were back then when it comes to a film like Bambi, when it comes to a film like Pinocchio, because Pinocchio is one of the films that I feel like really rivals Bambi when it comes to just the grand scale of the film, the drawings, paintings, everything. I feel like nowadays people wouldn't necessarily be as blown away by something like that. And it's just interesting to take this amazing, beautiful film that was groundbreaking at the time and re-release it nowadays, remake it in the 21st century. And I can't form the words of what I'm trying to say, but you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Remaking this film nowadays will not. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that films like The Lion King and The Jungle Book were groundbreaking as well, because this CGI in those films, the animations look beautiful, but again, it's animations and computer-generated imagery of real life. Whereas when it comes to these animated films, it's not real life. I feel like it's kind of hard to compare those two. And again, it's just very, I don't know. Bambi is just a weird choice for me to remake, just because it is musically driven, not a lot of plot, not a lot of story, very character driven. I just feel like remaking Bambi would not hold the audience's attention for however long the movie is. I mean, granted, that I would say the same for Dumbo, but they added on a bunch of new scenes for Dumbo to fit the mold of today's movies, fit the mold of what people expect today out of movies. Whereas back then, they didn't expect, like fast-paced action adventure when it comes to, their animated films. But yeah, I can't wait for Bambi's mom to die and then for Bambi to have just a blank deer expression on his face. Because, that's how it was in the Lion King when Simba's mom died, or when Simba's dad died. It was just the face of a lion, because lions can't emote emotions on their face, you guys. Animated lions can, animated deer can, but live action, actual lions and deer cannot, it just doesn't work the same. And it's just mind-boggling to me that Disney would even think about remaking Bambi. I don't know. I defend Bambi a lot because I love the film. I have a tattoo of Bambi, you guys. That's how much I love the film. But anyways,
you can't emotionally connect with a movie that doesn't show emotion.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. So I'm looking on YouTube, and they must have. I'm gonna show you, or it could be the other thing, which is no matter how many times I retype what I'm trying to say, Frozen 2 always shows up, and Frozen 2 is done entirely. But there's a scene that Disney showed. That they were like, I was watching this little mini documentary that Disney did a couple of years ago, literally like a 5-minute documentary. And it talked about how they had done pretty much like 3/4 of the whole movie in hand-drawn animation. And they showed a scene where Anna and Elsa are talking to each other, and it's all hand-drawn. And it looked really cool. It looked like if you took the same artistry that went into Princess and the Frog but translated it for Anna and Elsa in Frozen. That's what it looked like. And then they said that 3/4 of the way through, they said, Iger was like, you know what, hand-drawn is old. People want to see something that looks more realistic. And so they switched to CGI. And what they did was they went back and they redid all the scenes in CGI. And then, and part of the reason why it cost so much wasn't just because they already paid for the hand-drawn, but it was also because they didn't have the kind of technology like Pixar had originally. Like, what Pixar movies looked like at the time Frozen came out. Well, Disney had to purchase all that stuff for their own Disney animation. So part of the reason why Frozen cost so much was because they had to start up the 3D animation. But yeah, I'm trying to tell you guys, it's animation is dirt cheap.
Thomas the Next Walt said, in order to be blown away, you need a new eye-catching animation style, and he used an example of Into the Spider-Verse, which I feel like is a great example of how movie studios can take CGI animation and not do the conventional, just normal CGI film. They can take it into a different direction. If you put the right people to work on the movie, the right art direction, the right artists, everything, the right director, producers, you can make a visually stunning CGI animated film. Into the Spider-Verse, perfect example. I can't really think of any others off the top of my head that have like broken the mold of animation the way Spider-Verse has. If you guys know any examples, let me know. But yeah, it's just, I don't know.
It was cool because I know what Matt's trying to say, because I mean, as you guys all know, I'm not really superhero characters, but I did start watching a few episodes of that Into the Spider-Verse because I thought it looked cool. And so I'm watching it, and it literally, like, it reminds you of a comic book. The way that because in a comic book, as you know, the printing is done so like you can visually see dots everywhere. Like, that's how the printer prints out the image for some reason. It's just like a classic way that they print out a comic book. And that's how the printer does it. And the dots are very visible. They're not high density dots. So what they did was they wanted to make Into the Spider-Verse look like a comic book, even though it's made out of CGI. So they like visually inserted the little ink dots that you would see as if it were printed out on an actual comic book thing. And then the characters, they had this type of, they put like lines around their faces and features the way that a comic book would have. So it's CGI, but it looks like a comic book drawing, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, if you guys have not seen Spider-Verse, it's a great movie. I think it's on Netflix. The last time I watched it, it was on Netflix a few months ago. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
I wouldn't know. After Netflix got rid of Frasier, I stopped going to Netflix.
I honestly haven't opened Netflix in a while either, ever since Disney Plus. And I've been watching. Have you guys seen that Gordon Ramsay show on Disney Plus? It's part of the National Geographic show. He goes around to different parts of the country and like meets with the people, learns their culture, and cooks meals at the end of the episode for the people. And it's a really great show. I love Gordon Ramsay. Off topic, but great series. It's only like 6 episodes long, but anyways, yeah, it's just really mind-blowing to me that Disney would pick Bambi of all films to remake. That's almost like picking Fantasia to remake in live action. It's like not necessarily story-wise, but art direction-wise, I feel like it's on that same level.
And if you think about it, remember how I said that Bambi has almost no... It's all of the storytelling is done through the characters' faces.
Yes.
So it's like when you insert what happened with Lion King, where the animals can't show their emotion, how are you supposed to tell the story unless you insert a whole lot of dialogue in it, which is probably what they're gonna do.
God.
But then that erases the point of the movie, which was visual storytelling. So.
Yeah. Again, I feel like, I don't know. It's gonna get made, you guys. Whether it's put in theaters, whether it's put straight to Disney Plus, this is getting made either way. And I don't think this film will emotionally resonate with a lot of people, like the way The Lion King did, The Beauty and the Beast did, Aladdin even did, just because, like we've been saying, hardly any dialogue. The film is driven mostly by the visuals. The music as well adds a lot to the film. I don't know. We'll see when it eventually releases. Again, Peter Pan live action remake. Who cares? We've had a billion Peter Pan remakes in the past, literally like in the past 50 years. There's been many interpretations of Peter Pan. Same with Snow White, same with Pinocchio. Those films aren't the same as Bambi, because those films are I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to explain, at least for me, as to why Bambi stands out from all the other films. But anyways, yeah, we do have a voicemail here from Mr. Avery. Transcription not available. Let me refresh the page real quick.
Oh my God.
What happened?
Kobe Bryant died.
Are you serious? No, you're joking. I just saw that in chat and I thought
I just
that
looked
was a
it up
joke.
right now.
Wait a minute. Guys, this is breaking news. Wait a minute. Kobe Bryant. Helicopter crash? Oh my god. That is horrible. Kobe Bryant has died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas Sunday morning. Bless you, TMZ Sports has reported. Kobe was traveling with at least 3 other people in his private helicopter when it went down. A fire broke out. Emergency personnel responded, but nobody on board survived. 5 people are confirmed dead. We're told Vanessa Bryant was not among those. His wife was not among those on board. The cause of the crash, holy cow. Kobe has famously used a helicopter to travel for years, dating back to when he played for the Lakers. Jeez. That is honestly... I don't know what to say. Kobe was a big part of my childhood. I used to love watching him play for the Lakers when I grew up. I used to want to play basketball because of him. Holy cow. Okay. Well, that just, I guess, I don't know what to say, you guys. I honestly have no words right now. Yeah, I guess rest in peace. I hope his daughters weren't on board. That would be horrible. Man, I remember once at Disneyland, my mom saw Kobe. Yeah, guys, can we get an F in chat for legendary Kobe? I'm gonna cry, you guys. I'm honestly about to cry. I love... Okay, well, sorry to end the show on such a sour note, you guys, but Alex, do you have any final thoughts on the live action? I feel like we've milked this already. The live action Bambi remake coming to Disney.
Yeah, I think we kind of already said everything we wanted to say.
If Jeremy were here, I'm sure we would have had more to say because Jeremy was very upset as well as I. But yeah, you guys, breaking news, I guess. Yeah, sorry to end the episode on such a sour note. Yeah, rest in peace.
That was a big surprise.
I thought when what's-his-face said that in chat, I thought he was joking. Superstar Limo, because he's a jokester, but dang. Well, I'm going to go cry myself to sleep later tonight, because Kobe Bryant, I'm sure he's a great guy. I never met him personally. Great basketball player. I used to love watching Kobe play basketball when I grew up. Yeah, we'll listen to Avery's voicemail next time. Anyways, yeah, rip. Dang. Okay, anyways, we're going to go ahead and close off the episode, you guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts on all the topics we discussed, whether or not it's the Bambi remake in the works at Disney, whether or not, what else did we talk about? The new concept art for the DVC Tower coming to the Disneyland Hotel, Fastpass coming to Smugglers Run, and your thoughts on Fastpass in general, as well as the stuff we covered in news from the Peak. And I don't know if Kobe played more sports. He might have played baseball at one point. No, that was Michael Jordan who retired to play baseball.
You guys are joking, right? Because I feel like I don't even know sports, but I know that Kobe Bryant played basketball.
No, yeah, he played basketball, but I'm not sure if he played baseball or... I think he played golf.
Okay, I was like, what? I'm like, okay. I was so confused by what you're talking about.
No, yeah. I know he played a little bit of golf, but yeah, he's most known for, of course, basketball. I think he won like 5... Was it 4 or 5 titles he won with the Lakers? I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, Kobe...
I met Kobe Bryant once.
Really?
Yeah, he used to take tours for from the guest relations department because he came to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And so a coworker of mine was always his tour guide, and so I got to actually meet him once while he was waiting for his tour guide. I don't know much about him. I'm not a sports person at all. Mm-hmm. All I know is that he's famous, and he was in the Lakers.
The Lakers,
was that what it is? Yeah. So so he was like a nice guy, and and I said hello to him and stuff like that. It was very brief, but I mean, yeah, it was just weird. It's just weird to think that he's he's gone. And
that is crazy. I mean, Michael Jordan's still alive. Magic Johnson's still alive. But Kobe, he would be the last person that I would think would be, I wonder what his favorite... Yeah, he did visit the park often. I've seen, pictures and stuff. I wonder what his favorite attraction was, says J.A. Not sure. Anyways, yeah, well, thank you guys for coming to today's episode. Again, sorry for that breaking news there at the end, but, not really Disney related, but of course we have to...
Well, he loved Disneyland. So
I mean, technically Disneyland related, but... Yeah, so thank you all for coming to today's episode. As always, links to all the articles we refer to will be down in the description below. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you all for coming, and as always, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.